You failed to keep clematis alive before. I know, because in 25 years of talking with American gardeners at plant swaps, at county extension offices, at master gardener events from North Carolina to Oregon, I have heard this story more times than I can count. A gardener walks into a garden center in May, sees a beautiful vine in a 4-inch pot covered in purple flowers, buys it on the spot, plants it with real excitement and genuine hope, and then watches it either sit there doing absolutely nothing for 2 summers or collapse in a heap of brown, wilted stems by July. And then comes the guilt, the quiet, nagging feeling that this person just cannot grow things, that they do not have the right touch, that clematis is simply beyond them. I want you to stop carrying that guilt right now, because it is not yours to carry. What killed your clematis was not you, it was the advice you were given. Or, more precisely, the advice you were not given. That little plastic care tag stuck in the pot at the garden center. It does not tell you the one most important thing you need to know about clematis. It does not tell you which varieties are essentially immune to the fungal disease that makes stems collapse overnight, and which ones are genuinely vulnerable. It does not tell you which cultivars will still be pumping out color in October when everything else in your yard has given up. That is the information the nursery industry is not particularly motivated to put on a 4-inch tag, because gardeners who know exactly what to plant do not need to come back every spring and spend money replacing what died. That cycle ends today. In this video, I am giving you 9 specific clematis varieties, exact cultivar names, not just vague species descriptions, because general advice helps nobody, that are built for real gardeners who want continuous color from late spring all the way through autumn without turning their yard into a second full-time job. And I am counting them down from number 9 to number 1, because the plant at the absolute top of this list is, in my honest opinion, the single most reliable, most rewarding climbing plant you can put in the American garden. It has been proving that for 168 years. I am also going to tell you about a fragrant clematis variety somewhere in this countdown that most people watching this video have never heard of, and it has one of the longest uninterrupted blooming seasons in the entire genus. You do not want to skip ahead and miss it. Before we start, do me a favor right now. Drop your hardiness zone in the comments below. It takes 10 seconds and it tells me exactly where this community is growing, which shapes every piece of content this channel makes going forward. Let's get into the list. Number 9. Clematis Nellie Moser. We are starting at number 9, and I want to be completely honest with you from the very first plant on this list. Nellie Moser requires slightly more attention than the rest of the varieties we are going to cover today, but it earns its spot without apology, because when it is placed correctly, it produces flowers so dramatically beautiful that I would feel dishonest leaving it out. And once you understand the single most critical mistake most gardeners make with it, a mistake that has nothing to do with fertilizing or watering or soil amendments, you will have no trouble keeping this plant thriving and blooming for decades. Nellie Moser is one of the most instantly recognizable large-flowered clematis in the world, and the reason is obvious the moment you see it bloom. The blossoms are enormous, 6 to 8 inches across, and each one features pale pink or light mauve petals with a bold, saturated carmine red stripe running straight down the center of every sepal, like a painted brushstroke. It is not subtle, it is dramatic, elegant, and impossible to miss. When a mature plant is in full bloom on a fence or trellis, it stops people walking on the sidewalk in front of your house. Now, here is the critical piece of information the garden center will not tell you, and this is the reason so many Nellie Moser plants underperform in American gardens. This variety is cold hardy in USDA zones 4 through 9, tough enough to handle real winters, but it absolutely cannot tolerate intense afternoon sun on those flowers. If you plant it against a south-facing wall that bakes from noon onward in July, those gorgeous pink and carmine blossoms will fade to a washed-out, bleached near white within a matter of weeks. The color disappears entirely. And what do most gardeners do when that happens? They reach for fertilizer. They water more aggressively. They try to troubleshoot something that cannot be troubleshot with products. The plant is not failing. The placement is wrong. Move the location and the problem solves itself.
Nellie Moser wants morning sun and afternoon shade. A north or east-facing fence or trellis suits it perfectly. Dappled light under a high tree canopy works beautifully. And that kind of placement, it rewards you generously with two separate bloom flushes, a heavy, spectacular one in late spring on last year's old wood, followed by a second lighter flush in late summer and early autumn on new growth. This is a pruning group 2 plant, sometimes called type B or the yellow group at certain nurseries. That means you don't cut it hard to the ground in late winter like the easier group 3 varieties. Instead, in late winter or very early spring, you remove any clearly dead or damaged stems. Give the plant a light, tidy cleanup and leave the remaining structure intact. That old wood carries the buds for your spectacular first spring bloom. Leave it alone and it delivers. Cut it hard and you eliminate your early season flowers entirely. Nellie Moser grows comfortably to 10 or 12 feet, making it ideal for a large trellis, a section of wooden fence, or a pergola corner that receives morning light. Plant it correctly, respect its preference for cooler, shadier conditions, and you have one of the most jaw-dropping climbing plants in any garden, an award-winning performer since its introduction in the 1800s, and still delivering after all this time.
Number 8. Clematis Ernest Markham. This is a plant I describe to beginners as the one that forgives you. Ernest Markham is a large flower hybrid with genuine vigor, the kind of deep-rooted structural energy that helps a plant recover from setbacks that would end other varieties for good. If you're the kind of gardener who has had things go wrong before, who has forgotten to prune at the right time, or who went on vacation in June and came back to a mess, Ernest Markham is a plant that shakes it off and keeps going. What it produces in exchange for that forgiveness is a display of large, striking red-purple flowers with contrasting gold stamens that bloom from midsummer through autumn, exactly when many other clematis are winding down for the season. The color is bold and saturated, not a pale or delicate shade, and it photographs brilliantly against a white fence, a brick wall, or the silver-gray stems of an ornamental grass. It grows with real ambition, easily reaching 8 to 12 feet in a good growing season once it is established, which gives you serious coverage on any vertical structure you need to fill. I want to give you the full picture here because this channel does not hide inconvenient information to make a plant sound better than it is. Ernest Markham can occasionally be susceptible to clematis wilt H, a fungal disease that causes stems to collapse seemingly overnight. If you walk outside one morning and find a previously healthy stem lying wilted and brown, do not panic and do not assume the plant is dead. Clematis wilt rarely destroys the root system. Cut every affected stem back hard to healthy growth, or all the way to the ground if necessary. Dispose of the affected material away from your compost pile, and then watch what happens. In most cases, Ernest Markham will push new growth from the crown within weeks, and it will come back with a vigor that is genuinely impressive. The recovery speed on this plant consistently surprises people who have never seen it happen.